Fala galera, tudo bem com vocês? Nesse último final de semana, a SACY não se sagrou a grande campeã do Masters de Madrid. E durante um live recente, o SACY trocou uma ideia com seu chat e conversou bastante sobre o campeonato. E separamos alguns trechos aqui pra gente conferir.
Nossa, que finalzinho, hein, cara? Puta que pariu. Ai, foi difícil, hein? Por um momento eu achei que ia dar ruim, velho. Quando a gente tava perdendo, não, né? Quando a bind começou a ficar difícil, eu falei, caralho, se perder essa bind aqui, fudeu, mano. A gente foi pro AT, tava 13-12, a gente ganhou defesa, né? Aí eu acho que o John passou uma cal pras crianças dar a cara no Hulk. As crianças morreu, mano. Ficou 3x5. Fez milagre ali ainda, velho. O primeiro mapa? Não, o primeiro mapa, cara, foi meio que aquecimento, né? A gente falou, velho, brisa é nosso permaban. Só joga aí, só aquece, velho. Se a gente ganhar, show de bola. Se a gente perder, foda-se, tá 0x0. Cara, pra lore, tava super confiante contra o Paper Rex. A gente tava tipo, geral, mas a gente achou que a gente ia pegar a Loud, cara. A gente não achou que ia pegar a Paper Rex, não. Quando a gente caiu na lore, a gente falou, puta, vamos catar a Loud de novo, vai ser foda. Aí a Loud perdeu, mano. Aí quando a Loud perdeu, a gente se olhou assim, a gente tava na sala assim. A gente falou, mano, caralho, ganhamos. A gente falou, mano, pô, vai vir Paper Rex, cara, vamos amassar esses caras, mano. A gente tava muito confiante contra eles. A gente tinha mais medo da Loud do que a Paper Rex, mano. A Loud tá fraca? Não. A Loud não tá fraca, cara. A Loud nunca tá fraca. Acho que eles tiveram um apagão ali na conta Paper Rex só. Isso é verdade. Já achou que eles iam ganhar, mano. Tu acha que rolou com a Loud? Não sei, mano. Não tava lá. Acho que... Não sei, rolou um apagão só. Eles não jogam daquele jeito, não. 3v1 com o Inguinho? 3v1? Não, foi um V4, né? Foi um V4. Cara, um V4 contra a Loud... Ah, cara, todo clutch que um time toma, cara, é desmérito do time, né? Óbvio. O clutch é... Sempre dá pra falar, tipo, nossa, outro time poderia ter jogado melhor, né? É que na hora ali, acho que os caras não imaginou que eu tava no CT já, cara. Era pra ter imaginado, né? Porque o Gecko, ele tem essa parada do Inguinho plantar. Mas um X4 deu uma levantada no time, né? Mas eu acho que a final, cara, quando foi pro quinto mapa, a gente já tava, mano, muito embalado já, né? É foda. A gente virou a série, né? Quando você vira a série, você vem muito confiante pro último mapa. Acho que foi a nossa primeira vitória da Icebox, se eu não me engano. A Icebox que a gente jogou foi contra a Loud, foi bem close também, a gente perdeu. A Icebox, cara, a gente ganhou os 2 pistols, que foi muito importante, né, velho? Os pistols mandaram muito naquele mapa. Mas ali, mano, sendo sincero, os caras já estavam tudo em choque já, né? Tava fazendo muita play individual, os caras, dando a cara sozinho, tipo... Ali era só manter a calma que nós ia ganhando. Vocês gostam de ficar comparando, né, mano? Essas porra, SEC em aspas, eu falo. Mano, eu tava vendo no Twitter, caralho, cara. Fica caindo em bait de Twitter, cara. Porra. Cara, brasileiro é muito emocionado, cara. O Toninho fica farmando lá milhões de engajamentos em cima de vocês, mano. Aí entra todo mundo. Aí compara. O brasileiro tem essa mania, né? Ele tem essa mania de colocar as pessoas contra as outras sem, tipo, as pessoas não falarem um A, né? Vi um monte, cara, tomei xingo de pro player de CS. O cara falando que, isso aí não lava nem cueca do não sei quem. Falei, mano, o que esse cara tá falando, doidão? Puta que pariu. O cara ficou maluco com o bait, cara. Eu tô tomando de graça, cara. Sempre tem essa mania de ficar comparando, cara. Já falei várias vezes também que, mano, minha inspiração fala, os caralho, eu já tomo, só tomo xingo. É, isso também, mano. A galera do CS fica muito puta, né, cara? Comparando os caras aqui do Valorant contra os caras do CS, né, mano? Os caras ficam muito pistola, mano. Em vez de falar, mano, caralho, da hora, hein, mano, ganhou um mundial. Aí o cara fala, não. Nossa, mas o Y ali ganhou 85 mundiais. Esse aqui ganhou 4. Ele é muito mais pica. Em vez de falar, mano, caralho, da hora, parabéns, Cacizão. Não, mano, o cara quer xingar. Não existe comparação, cara. Eu com qualquer outro jogador de CS, não existe comparação, mano. Não é pra existir, cara. Não é questão de quem é melhor ou pior, velho. O que eu fiz, o que eu faço é totalmente diferente do que os caras fizeram, mano.
Durante o último episódio do Plat Chat, os casters gringos comentaram sobre a Loud nesse Master de Madrid. E durante a análise, eles debateram esse top 4 da Loud.
I wanna move on to talking about Loud, though, if we can here. Because you mentioned the Paper Rex Loud game. And I have an overarching question, I think, for us all, which is just, were Loud actually good? Like, does this comp idea that they're running have legs to actually push them forwards? They made top 4 in the world. Inarguable that is a fantastic position for any team to be at. But they also only beat the Chinese teams, and they ended up getting kind of toasted by anyone that knew what they were coming up against in these games. The game against EG to me during kickoff really showed the fact that you can anti the hell out of this stuff. They came in playing Yoru on Ascent to try to mitigate that. Against PaperX, who don't run the Cypher, they tried to run the Phoenix again, and they still just kind of got blasted. So, Sean, starting with you, what were your big takeaways from the PaperX Loud game? You said that they antied them a lot.
I'll use the restroom real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was worried about when I watched Loud, even in Americas. I was like, oh man, this comp is so cool. Like, Sadak has really created this way to play without a Sentinel, and he said all that shit in the interview about how he hates Sentinels, and they have all these layers and protocols to deal with it. But the problem is that, you know, like when Les is the B main guy on Sunset as Viper, there is no Cypher, there's no Senti. Deep in the tournament, I saw PaperX understand this. They understood what Loud needed to do to stall out and get info early without having a Senti, and it's so readable at that point. It's so obvious once you realize that, oh, he has to put this pressure here early. He has to stall us out just for like 5 seconds, make us respect this wall, and then he's going to recede back into the site, and he's going to make himself look bigger than he is. But then when you have a team like PaperX who's like, oh yeah, well, fuck it. We're just going to take the fight to you. Like, I don't give a shit if you look bigger than you are. Like, we're going to 3v1 you, 3v3 you if you have 3 here. And they get past all of the smoke and mirrors that Loud does. You realize how fraudulent a lot of the looks are. And that's where I think, like, Loud, I expected them to have, like, a second gear, right? Where Sadak anticipates this and they adjust for it. And he's constantly, like, ahead of this, ahead of the anti-strat. But it didn't happen. And because it didn't happen, I think I'm very worried about this comp and the whole mindset of it, because great teams will be able to pick it apart and good teams will get shit on by it. Like, they will get false confidence from scrims where they're just running people over all day without any adaptations. But then when they go deep in tournaments and a team anti-strats, this will happen. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just you want, as a coach, you want this. You would love to go against this team on Ascent when they're still locking in this comp. Like, it struggles at too many things. Like, it's one of those things, and I think they did great to actually get to this stage in terms of like top 4. I think that was good in terms of the comp. But when your Lotus is as bad as it is, so you have to like insta ban it just because of the no Sentinel, and then on Ascent when you can't get through choke points, when you can't actually, and you're relying on too much of just like essentially it is one-dimensional in terms of like the game plan. It just feels like it gets picked apart at these higher levels. So I'm on board with like what Sean's saying. I think this running forward, like the Ascent, the Lotus doesn't have legs, that needs to get changed. And I was saying when I was like doing my pick'ems for the next stage, when they had 2 days off, I was like, maybe Sadak is going to change something. Like, they could easily just rely back on like the old comp per QCK on a Jet, and then it kind of works in terms of getting through the choke points. But then it never happened. It's like what Sean said, that it just feels like they have confidence in this Ascent, and I don't. Essentially, I just don't have it. I would love to play against this in a team. I think it's a free map.
One of the things I think that people are reading into too is that Loud love grouping up on one side of the map and then just sticking to that side of the map for the entirety of their attack round. If they start with heavy A main pressure and they just have less they don't even normally work B main on these rounds where they stack up like 4 players into A main. And they are only going to rotate away if you fully stop an exec from happening. And I think that just leads to situations where PaperX have, or any team that they play against, have tons of defenders on the site ready to try to fight against it. And I think in Sadak's head, it's like overwhelming amounts of attacking utility is just going to deal with that anyway. But I think teams are much more happy to go for the gamble on their defense side rather than just leaving a couple players over towards B, not doing anything in the middle of these rounds.
So I will also... you go, Sean.
So this is... I queued up Kurt to play a clip right now. Kurt, this is like... So this is Loud, right? Look at how they're set up at the start. Kurt, can you like pause at like the very start of the clip, right at the start? Go back even. So if you look at like Les and QCK and Kawanzine, they're playing off of a KO knife over by the B side of the map, and then they're going to shift up. They're going to come up. If there's something early B, Les can put up the wall and play retake. They have a full 5-set retake. If there's something set A, they have a full 5-set retake. If there's something mid, these 3 players, now play the clip, Kurt, watch them gravitate up after the false KO knife would come in. They start to, you see less creep up, clear B main really quick. These two kind of progress up mid. They put up the wall. It's now a trap play for mid. So like they have layers for everything at the start of the round. Now the problem is like they have the B hit plan, the mid hit plan, the A hit plan, and they probably have like B split, A split. But deep in a tournament, if I fake a B hit and draw you into that retake, or if I fake a mid hit and I bait you into that mid crunch, you are fucked. You are actually fucked. And teams realize this like deep in tournaments that like if we do an A hit and just straight up play loud like this, they're going to shit on us. They have a set retake. And this is why like early on they 2-0'd Sentinels. But when Sentinels saw this, when you understand like on a deeper level, like, okay, we got to bait this util out and we can actually cause them to have fights that they don't even want. Like they're going to be like reeling off the back foot and they're going to have no idea what's going on. And we're going to be lurking out A main on B hits. We're going to be lurking up mid on B hits. It's way too much shit for the players on Loud to be aware of. And they don't even know they're getting anti-shrouded.
Yeah, I think early on too, a lot of teams were trying to run fast execs against them because you don't see the Sentinel on the other side and you're like, well, this is free. We could just take the side. But the longer you make the rounds go, the more the lack of the info hurts that Loud defense, I think. And you get to punish them as they're constantly jiggling situations or jump peeking, and then you're walking up on them and getting the punish.
It's the same as playing like against the Genji Breeze, right? It's the same thing. We just slow play and they can't always watch stuff.
And the Sentinels sent fast A hits.
Yeah, exactly.
The comp that you should be playing slow against. Yeah,
but you can understand. Like I can understand the theory of it. It's like no Sentinel. It's like, well, they can't hold sites. So I kind of get the full process, but on paper there's better things to do. I will say, like in terms of positives for Loud, individually, like actually looking decent. Especially Tui's needs like a big shout out. One of the best I've seen him play. And I think QCK, when I look at Icebox and actually put him on the Jet, which I think will be the easiest fix for some of these maps when I'm thinking of Ascent if they don't have much time, actually looked really good, to be honest, QCK when he's on Jet, so that gives me a lot of confidence for him as well.
Dude, that Yoru performance though, fuck it. I never want to see him on Yoru again. Like, I love Yoru, but holy shit, man, like, why did they do that?
Yeah, it's because they were scared of their Ascent. You talk about the Ascent one, right? They felt like the Phoenix can get through the choke points, so then a quick backup is who else has a flash and can get through choke points. Yoru, I think, was the thought process. It didn't look like it had much time to
use the gate crash. Yeah,
it didn't.
It was weird. It was like a Yoru without a gate crash. I was like,
I felt similarly about Meteor playing Yoru for the first time, and then it ended up being pretty good. So maybe it just needs a little bit more time. I don't know.
I can't remember who it was even against this Yoru game.
It was the opening game they played on Ascent. Like whoever it was.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, the game against Gen G. Yeah.
Which in hindsight, we should probably give him a pass, right?
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I mean, Gen G were spectacularly good at that point. But I want to just ask, even in terms of rating the teams at Madrid, Swiss system is always a little bit odd, especially when you have it like this, where you only need to beat 2 teams to go through instead of 3, which would be the norm. The teams that Loud beat were EDG and FPX. If they had played against teams like both of the EMEA teams played against Sentinels and Paperex, do you think they're going through? Do you think they just got an easier draw? Did they actually deserve top 4 here?
Question.
Probably not.
Can
we just leave it at that?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a question, I suppose that's at least interesting enough.
With the map pool. See, I'm at the point where I'm just like,
Heretics, they 100%
look at the
lose.
Scores on those fucking EDG games, man. Like,
true. But EDG went slightly
even
off.
the FPX game, like they proved they were like worlds better than those teams, and they were competing against Sen and Gen G, like one map against both.
My issue is just having the map pool, like having that Ascent in my mind against both of those teams. You're starting a map down, and that's hard.
I mean, Sen, I could see them playing Sen closer, especially on like Icebox and Sunset, because they're a lot more familiar with Sentinels. I think if you put Loud up against like somebody like Heretics or something, they probably just get destroyed by them.